What's up, guys? We're here at AMC Town Square with Chasing Cinema,
Mr. James Hsu.
.com, and we are here for Halloween.
Yeah, so tonight we are watching Halloween. It's been 40 years since the babysitter murders in Haddonfield, and to go back and erase what other filmmakers have done with the Halloween series is where we are set here in this movie. Now, I'm a huge Halloween fanatic. Really loved, the whole franchise. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Michael Myers. I think he's the greatest boogeyman character that the slasher films introduced. Arguably, Michael Myers was the first slasher. And, also against him in this movie is Jamie Lee Curtis playing Laurie Strode. And she was pretty much the first final girl, the first surviving, avenging angel is what they call him. The good character, the good-hearted character who has to survive to the end of the movie. So this battle has been going on now for 8 movies, at least in this universe. Then Rob Zombie made 2 other movies, which I wasn't particularly crazy about. I think the first one was good. The second one I thought was, not very good. But I mean, I watched all of these movies, and though I don't think none of them really live up to the original movie, they hold up. It's just a franchise that I enjoy. But we have to think 20 years ago, a director tried to do this already. Halloween H2O said, forget all the other sequels besides 1 and 2. We're going to make a sequel in which it's 20 years later. And Jamie Lee Curtis went up against Michael. She finally got the bravery to face Michael, and they went at it. And then that spawned Halloween Resurrection, the 8th film in the series. I think I just really like the dynamic between Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Myers. So for me, though Halloween H2O has a lot of issues, I still enjoy Jamie Lee going head-to-head with Michael Myers. So now that we're doing, 20 years later, another reboot, or a requel, as Hsu pointed out last week, that really excites me because I love the Laurie Strode character, and this movie seems like it's really going to focus on her, where she is 40 years later, the post-traumatic stress she has to deal with, and then Michael Myers, who's been incarcerated for the past 40 years since the murders kind of breaking out. So I have a lot of high hopes for this movie. Going into it, I am expecting it to be one of my favorite of the year, and I really hope it's good. So, before I tell you what I think, let's hear what Mr. Hsu has to say.
You know what? The truth is, I'm genuinely, honestly surprised how much I enjoyed this movie. There's Chasing, as he told you, there's been so many Halloweens, and I am just that guy that has literally missed the train, missed the boat on every single one of them. I haven't seen the first one, which is the one that everyone really talks about. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, never seen any of those. Then the Rob Zombie ones, haven't seen one of them. So I came in here at an ultra low, just like, it's a Thursday, this is what we do, we watch movies. And I came out of the theater, honestly, I enjoyed this movie a lot. It was really a lot of fun. Jamie Lee Curtis, I thought she did an awesome job. I thought, she was our Linda Hamilton, Sigourney Weaver, Ripley slash, this badass woman. I thought Jamie Lee Curtis did what she does. She's a beautiful woman, and that she kicked a lot of butt in this movie. And then there was a lot of nods to the original one. Even though I haven't seen the original one, you could just tell that when they showed the girls' playhouse, I'm sure that was a nod. And I really just enjoyed this movie. There's good tense, and then the killing, they didn't take themselves serious when he did the foot. I don't think this is a spoiler. When Michael Myers did the foot, Hulk smash on the head, I got a kick out of it. It wasn't like, I enjoyed this. It was a really, I enjoyed this movie. I'm really surprised how much I enjoyed this. And then there's not really an after credit scene, but if you watch this movie, just stay till the after credits. After the credits, and you'll hear or see or whatever. There's a little some little nod. Chasing, what'd you think?
Interesting, Mr. Hsu's take. Now let's see if we agree. So Halloween was a movie that I really, really wanted to love, but I just kind of liked. I think there's a lot of good here, but to me, it leaves me with the feeling of what it could have been. I think the first 30 minutes of the movie really focuses on Laurie Strode. It shows you elements of her post-traumatic stress through alcoholism, her obsession with protection, and being able to protect her household. We open up this door where her family is dysfunctional. There's 3 generations of Strodes in this movie, her granddaughter and her daughter, who's played by Judy Greer. And we see this dysfunction, Then we have these podcasters who, and come out and try to re-dig up this case 40 years later. We visit Michael in a mental institution who's about to be transferred. all of this setup is really, really good. And seeing Laurie Strode and what she suffers because of these murders that happened 40 years ago when 5 teenagers were slain on Halloween night, I think is where the heart of this movie is. Halloween has always been about Michael Myers. This Halloween movie is about Laurie Strode. Now here's where the problem comes in. After that first initial 35 minutes or so is where the movie kind of loses that point. It really loses its vision on being about Jamie Lee Curtis. We get into Michael Myers putting back on the mask, killing, and none of these murders, all these kill sequences, they don't feel like they have any meaning to them. It honestly, in a movie that's about, that really is kind of revolves around Michael Myers killing people, it feels like fluff. It's just there to fill the space. And that's where this movie kind of loses me. Now, what I will say on a positive note is that the movie doesn't do the typical modern day jump scare where we have a really loud stinger, a really loud noise, and then a scare. It does it very classic in the vein of the old Halloween movie. So it reveals and has a jump noise, but it's nowhere near as loud. It uses the old classic score. So in that way, this movie feels very much like a tribute. It feels like it's really honoring. The beginning opening titles is the old classic font. We're using the original score. It really is a love letter to the first Halloween movie, but it's so concerned on doing the Michael Myers murdering stuff, which of course is what people want to see. It loses sight of what the movie really is at heart, though, and that's about Laurie Strode. Like I said, we learn that they have a very dysfunctional relationship, Laurie Strode and her daughter. I believe her name's Karen in the movie, played by Judy Greer. But that's an underdeveloped relationship. We really never get to dive into it really, really deep. We learn little things. We get the broad picture. They just quickly go over it, and we're supposed to accept it. But I wanted to get in the meat of that. There's also a twist about 2/3 of the movie that I thought was ridiculous. I don't think, to me, it did anything to add to the story. I've heard mixed things about it. For me, I didn't care for it. I didn't think it was necessary. I don't think it added anything to me. It just kind of felt like it stuck out. But it's in that middle swing, of the movie that really just kind of, to me, didn't have that energy. I thought it was really choppy when it comes to editing. I think you lose a lot of this movie. I think there's probably another hour on the cutting room floor somewhere, and I think it did feel like an hour and 45 minutes, and I understand why you have to cut an amount of length, but there are parts where the movie didn't feel like it explained enough. There were some what should have been significant deaths that weren't even shown. And not even revealed, oh no, this is what happened. They're just kind of seen in the background, which I thought was kind of a bummer. I think the idea behind Michael Myers being this killing machine and just doing this ruthlessly, I understood it, but leaving Laurie Strode out of it at that point, I think really hurts the movie. And of course we have her granddaughter who has a boyfriend, and there's this whole subplot between them and them going to, and Michael Myers kind of having this attraction to her, and that doesn't even feel really developed, and it just kind of feels there. I think this movie really should have stayed being about Laurie Strode and her struggles and her PTSD and her dealing with it and her dealing with the fact that Michael Myers has broken loose and is out there again on Halloween night. There are these great moments that are in the trailer that aren't really there in the movie. They're there, but they're cut, or the way that they're edited doesn't feel the same effectiveness, and that's, again, kind of a bummer. I'm trying to think here. What else did I really want to cover? Overall, I think the last 15 minutes is what everyone wants to see. The big showdown, and I think the final 15 minutes are really, really strong. I think there's 2 really great callbacks. I don't want to spoil it, but there were two moments in the very 15 minutes. I was like, oh, yes, a great callback to the original movie. A very, very cool moment. Judy Greer has a really badass moment too that I really, really dug. But the more I think about that middle part and the killings and just the Michael Myers killing spree, it just feels so lifeless, and it doesn't have any meaning. The deaths are there, and you're like, okay, like he's killing these random people, which is fine. We're talking about how crazy and how violent he is, but it just doesn't seem intriguing. We don't care because we don't care about these people. It just seems like we're just wasting time to eventually get to the showdown between Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, and Michael Myers. And I think the movie should have really stayed in that realm a lot more and really just kind of built that tension up. While I think it does have these great tributes to the original, I don't think it captured the terror of the original Halloween. Surprisingly, though, of course, people are like, oh, no movie's really scary these days. I wasn't really scared or in a moment where I found myself really, really tense about what was going on during a murder sequence. I was tense in emotional scenes where Jamie Lee Curtis was breaking down to her family and crying. I felt tension there, but I didn't feel tension while Michael Myers was roaming the streets. I think there's I think there are a few funny parts in the movie. I laughed a few times. There's a young boy in the movie who's getting babysat, and he's quite hilarious. But overall, I think this is a situation where I looked and I just thought about how much more this movie could have been. Obviously, I'm sure this won't be the final time we see any of these characters, but I really hope that they kind of go back to the heart of this movie and focus more on Laurie Strode in the next one. But yeah, I think it's solid. I think it's a movie that's worth seeing, especially if you're a fan. But I do see people being kind of bummed out and not getting everything that they wanted. And I hope it does well. I would love to see Michael Myers back, but I hope we don't end up going through the whole sequel where we get, even 3 or 4 more. We're just going to be in the same place, and some director's going to come along and want to tell a story 60 years after the original Halloween, So anyway, next week at AMC Town Square, me and Mr. James Hsu will be here. Well, I'll be there because I'm in Pittsburgh right now. As you can tell, I'm not at AMC. We'll be at AMC Town Square. Mr. Hsu, tell them what we have next week.
So that's our review for Halloween. If you guys liked it, push the like button, subscribe to our channel, comments below. We'd love to hear it. Next week, guys, if you don't know, we do movie premieres every single week here at AMC Town Square every Thursday. Next week's movie, I think, honestly, it's just the Bean Dude in Johnny English. I think Kent told me it's part 3. I have no excitement for this. I don't even know if that's really the movie. There seems like, I don't know. But you know what? We're going to be here. I don't know exactly what's playing, but if you want to know for sure, you can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/theofficialJamesHsu. You can see the links below in the description box and on the screen, and we'll let you know what movie it is. So we'd love to have you. It's a fun time. It's private theater, private screening, no weirdos, all good people, keeping silent, being silent, so a lot of fun. And until next week, guys, ChasingCinema.com is known as the Film Lovers website.